dodge bullets, baby.
This is beyond fairy tale. It's inconceivable.
Yes, Doyle's done it.
He skates steps into poker history.
This is the greatest sport in the world.
This main event has been all about the top players. And though most have hit the rail, 2 are still alive. Phil Ivey. Jeff Shulman.
Looking for action?
The 2 most established players remaining. One hoping to once again claim a seat at the game's most coveted final table.
How could I not want to be at the final table? It would be amazing. This is my dream come true having a stack this big.
One hoping that day 8 isn't the latest in a string of main event near misses.
I know that if I don't play as good as I'm capable of playing, that I'm not going to do well.
They'll all get there eventually.
Shulman.
I feel like you're going to make fun of me. It's weird.
Ivey.
Me, I'm questioning this.
2 players looking to cement their poker legacy. 2 big names hoping to outlast the new faces. 2 men inching closer to being one of the November 9. Welcome once again to the 2009 World Series of Poker presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. I'm Lon McCarran along with Norman Chad. We are set to rejoin the action here at the Rio on day 8 of the main event. The big names have been the focus, but with the field now down to 23 players, it's the new faces who are currently dominating. The only table left in the field led by one-time chip leader Darvin Moon, who is currently second. Also there is one-time chip leader Warren Zacke. At table 2, we once again find the current chip leader Billy Kopp, as well as Steve Begleiter, who's third in chips. At our featured table still sit the 2 most established players left in the field.
Jeff Shulman is trying to make his second main event final table this decade. Phil Ivey now with 4 top 25 finishes in the main event in the last 8 years, but he always has problems at this point, and he's been reeling on day 8.
Let's take a look at the chip count. The top 5, Billy Kopp above 20 million. Steve Begleiter jumped into third by knocking off Antonio Esfandiari. Some guys in a bit of trouble. The bottom 5 includes the once high-flying Jonathan Tamayo. That's Joe Catto, one of the 4 players who can break Peter Eastgate's record of being the youngest to win the big one.
Nick Mimoni, 22, also has a chance to break Eastgate's record. He's had an adventurous day 8, almost out of here 3 times.
What's the Maven BT? What's that?
It's a poker training school.
You make money off those training schools?
Yeah. A lot of guys want to know what we're doing.
Andrew Lischenberger started LegoPoker.com.
Hop on board, Phil.
Maybe I should start one.
The seat's open. You don't got to start your own.
Andrew trying to recruit Phil.
Lego's got open arms.
The Phil Ivey Poker Academy. I could be chancellor.
On the Jack Link's Beef Jerky pocket cam, Phil Ivey on the button looks down a Queen 10 offsuit.
Okay, if he's going to start playing Queen 10 off, I'm not going to be associated with his poker school.
He raises to $320,000. Jeff Shulman, the editor of Card Player Magazine, has pocket jacks.
Generally, if you wake up 5 minutes earlier, you can shave.
He will call for $260,000 more. In the big blind, George Karageorgis, 5, Tray of Hearts.
George graduated from Concordia University in Montreal. I believe they are the Raging Cajuns.
And he will make the call.
George is the short stack. He's been waiting for the right spot.
This amateur will take on these 2 top players. And the flop is Queen 5-10. Ivey flops queens up. Karageorgis a pair of 5s. Shulman's pocket jacks go from first to long shot. And he checks. George Karageorgis now with bottom pair. Makes it 425.
George has been waiting for the right spot. I don't think this is it.
Ivey with top 2 pair.
Ivey plays Queen 10 better than anyone I know.
Surprise, surprise. A raise to $1.1 million.
Shulman was probably trying to trap in the small blind with pocket jacks and now finds himself in a tough spot with a bet and a raise in front of him.
And a nice laydown from Shulman.
Well, George won't be risking his main event at this moment.
Indeed, he's thinking, what am I doing in this pot with this guy with his hand? And he lays it down.
We're going to play a big pot?
I don't play big pots, otherwise we would have. Did you hit or did you have me?
I always have it.
Phil Ivey says he always has it, but does he have enough to finally make his first main event final table? Norman, everyone remaining has one eye on the bracelet and the other on Phil Ivey, but it would be a mistake to overlook the rest of the field. There is still a great deal of poker talent out there, and you only have to set your sights on the man sitting next to Ivey to be reminded of that.
Lon, Jeff Shulman cannot and should not be ignored. This guy just doesn't publish poker. He plays it pretty darn well. He's also the only one left in the field who's ever made a main event final table. And if he can find his way to the November 9, he just might make it onto the cover of his own magazine.
Jeff Shulman is one who usually lays low out of the spotlight, but if he keeps his main event run up, he better find his razor. Let's go to the one remaining outer table to find James Aikenhead. He recently doubled up. He's now mixing it up with James Calderaro. Pair of jacks on the flop. The river was a king.
Calderaro, a 44-year-old pro from Venice, Florida.
Aikenhead first to act. He checks.
Calderaro used to own a nightclub. I always wanted to own a nightclub, but I only would want it open during the day.
That's troublesome. Calderaro will bet $625,000.
26-year-old Aikenhead has been relatively short-stacked much of this main event.
And Aikenhead makes the call. Let's see what Calderaro has. Well, he's not showing. Aikenhead shows pocket nines, and I guess that's good enough to win it.
You can breathe, buddy. Take it easy. You can breathe. Relax. I'm breathing.
It's tough to relax when you get this close to the final table. One misstep can wipe out a week's worth of work.
Aikenhead over 11 million chips now. Let's go over to table 2 to find amateur Steve Begleiter. Suddenly, one of the big stacks in the room, but action beginning on 24-year-old Ben Lamb, known affectionately as Benba. He's got ace-king offsuit.
Lamb finished 156th at the 2007 main event.
He raises to $285,000. Chip leader Billy Kopp will fold queen 7. Action is on Steve Begleiter, the 47-year-old former Bear Stearns executive, in the big blind with 7-6 of diamonds.
Is everybody out except it's up to me?
Correct.
It's 180. It's 165 more.
Begleiter's been gambling and prospering.
I call.
Did you look?
Yes, I did.
All right.
I'm not that good that I can beat you without looking.
I wonder if he looked at his hole cards when he was head of corporate strategy at Bear Stearns.
So Lamb and Begleiter to the flop. Here it is. Tray 4-5. Begleiter flops the straight. And he'll slow play it.
I don't think he flopped too many straights his last year at Bear Stearns.
Lamb flopped an irrelevant straight draw. He can only hope to chop this pot. He bets $325,000.
That's $325,000 Ben Lamb will never see again, and the rich will get richer. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if Begleiter was head of corporate strategy or ran the acting school at Bear Stearns.
Just a smooth call with the nuts.
He's acting worried, though.
And we will see a turn card. Ben Lamb in trouble. Turn card is another 5. Begleiter with the check mark now. And now he jumps into action, makes it $950.
A stop-and-go play from Begleiter, and that might be a stop sign for Ben Lamb in this hand.
Ben Lamb with ace-king, a draw to a straight that won't win anything, and he will fold.
It just seems like the common man has no chance in this world.
Begleiter takes it. And his fans love it.
Relax, guys. It's a long, long night.
And the longer it goes, the stronger Steve Begleiter gets.
The World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Main event.
Welcome back to the Rio, where Nick Maimone just called all in, but actually has the best hand this time, Norman. His pocket queens up against the ace-king of Marco Mattis.
The other all-ins were small ins. If Maimone wins this one, he'll actually be above chip average.
Who's going to win this one?
Ivy knows from first-hand experience Maimone wins all-ins.
I'm fine whatever happens. It's meant to be. So.
He's survived 3 all-ins, came from behind in all of them. Here's the flop. 8-9-8. Maimone still best.
Maimone and Mattis, both 22 years old.
Both very nervous.
It's the biggest sweat I've had in a long time.
In a long time.
I mean, this is a flip, though. It's like, I was all in, and I was just like, you know, I expected to lose. This is...
You expect to win?
Huh? I'm fine. I think whatever happens is supposed to happen, so...
Those are some jewels that just got dropped.
I don't think Phil's going to hire Maimone for our poker academy.
Phil's acting like the MC of these proceedings. A jack on the turn, so Mattis is going to have to get his help on the river.
He looks very lucky.
Mattis looking for an ace or king to knock out Maimone.
The river card is a trade. And Maimone hangs on to the lead and doubles up through Mattis.
No, Ivy's definitely not bringing Maimone into our poker school.
Nick Maimone over 9 million chips now, and that was a big hit to Mattis. He is crippled.
We've now seen Maimone go 4 for 4 on all-ins on day 8, and he did not have to rally from behind on this one.
And Ivy will have to deal with a stronger Nick Maimone, and the roller coaster ride of this main event continues for the 22-year-old who's still adjusting to the life of a poker player.
I've been out here in Vegas for a month and a half now. I'm kind of losing touch with time, like what day it is. My sleep patterns are crazy. My eating patterns are crazy. When you're just focused, you're in the zone, you're playing for this much money. It just takes a hold of you, and it's crazy. I couldn't imagine being this deep.
Living on a prayer.
There was times that I was like really frustrated, and I just kind of stuck with it and didn't give up. I'm all in. And then actually sitting across from Ivy, and wow. He's always been like my favorite player, and it was just cool. It just made me feel like I was important or something. Wow. I guess right now I'm a poker player, but it's just not a very conducive lifestyle to have, like having a family and like just living a normal traditional life, which is kind of what I want in the end. I honestly see myself like probably being like a teacher and a coach. I have the money now, I can go back, get certified, and I'll have a lot more fulfillment out of that other than just playing cards for myself.
Oh my Lord.
But I'll come back and play the main event. This is by far exceeded my expectations.
Nick says he's lost all sense of time in Las Vegas, doesn't even know what day of the week it is. Heck, Lon's been that way since 1974.
Good for you. Let's go to the outer table once again where James Aikenhead once again mixing it up with James Calderaro. 2 hearts just came out on the flop. Both checked.
Aikenhead raised pre-flop and Calderaro called from a small blind.
A 7 of spades on the turn. Calderaro first to act. He checks again.
It's a culture clash. Calderaro seems very American and Aikenhead seems very British.
26-year-old from London. Very highly regarded in the European poker circles. We'll bet $460,000.
Aikenhead learned to play poker largely from reading books. Americans don't read much.
Calderaro makes this call. So these two will see a river card. $2 million in the pot. River card is a 4 of hearts, a 3rd heart on board. Calderaro checks a 3rd time. Aikenhead verifies, and he checks. 9 says Calderaro, but 10's this time for Aikenhead. He got him again.
10s beat 9s on both sides of the Atlantic. Aikenhead's picking up some momentum.
A former train conductor on the right track tonight, hoping he doesn't stop short again. Over to table 2 where chip leader Billy Kopp is seated. He's done a fine job of staying at or near the top of the leaderboard. He looks down at 10-8 of spades in the small blind.
Kopp says he doesn't have a game plan here, and it's been working pretty well.
A raise to $400,000. Big blind Jamie Robbins, 35-year-old from San Diego.
Financial trader turned poker pro.
9-8 off. And he'll call for $240,000 more.
Like Darvin Moon, Billy Kopp has been hit by the deck and prospering.
And the flop is 10, King, 6. Kopp hits his pair of 10s. Robbins gets a gut shot straight draw.
The deck hits Billy a little bit again.
He checks middle pair.
Well, I'm surprised Billy didn't bet there. He's got the big stack.
Robbins checks behind him. The queen on the turn. Kopp still ahead.
A second overcard on the board may scare Billy, but the big stack may still bet and see where he's at.
But he does not.
Kopp apparently in shutdown mode.
Robbins happy to take another free card, looking to fill his straight. River card is the 7. Robbins does hit his 10 high straight.
If Kopp had bet the flop or the turn, I don't think we ever see a river card.
Another check from Kopp, and a good one here on the river.
Robbins, like Billy Kopp, is mainly an online player.
Emboldened by that river card and his straight, now bet $630,000.
What's that? 630. I call.
He calls with the 10s. And Robbins shows the winning straight.
So straight.
Kopp's passive play let Robbins get there, and the chip leader takes a 1 million chip hit.
Kopp digesting the bad news.
That's it.
Mazel tov.
Robbins takes a 2 million chip pot. Kopp perhaps wondering what could have been, but he's still the biggest stack of the room with over 25 million. Back to the featured table where Phil Ivey started the day with over 11 million, but he's given up almost 40% of that. Action here starts on George Karageorgis. Under the gun, George looks down at pocket deuces.
George watches Rounders once a week, almost every week of the year. It's a good movie, but it's not like it's Citizen Kane or Roadhouse.
He raises to 400,000. The blinds are now at 80 and 160,000 and a 20,000 chip ante.
I love Roadhouse.
Folded to Phil Ivey in the small blind. Ace 10.
What do you got there? 1 million behind. 800,000.
What do you have left, Phil? What's he messing around here for?
Phil with a re-raise to a little over 1 million. That's almost what Kara Jorges has left. The big blind Schulman folds.
All right, I call. I'm all in. All in and a call.
And they do get it all in.
Phil's in a funk. He has stalled at this part of the main event before. We saw him fold a winning flush with no bet on the river earlier on day 8. This is for 15% of my man's stack. I might have to pull out of the Phil Ivey Poker Academy.
Kara Jorges all in with deuces.
What is it?
It is 1,200,000.
That much?
A risky move by Phil considering his stack right now.
Feels like a lot to me.
It is. You don't have that much left.
Here it is, right here.
Phil says he's going to rally in the flop. His ace 10 against the deuces. The flop is 6-jack trade, 2 clubs. Kara Jorges and his deuces are still good.
What's George going to do if there's a Rounder sequel?
A 9 on the turn. Can Kara Jorges do it?
He can't watch the Cincinnati Kid once in a while?
River card now.
Phil Ivey needs an ace or a 10 to knock out George Kara Jorges.
The river card is a 4. And how about that? The deuces hold up for George Kara Jorges.
You happy with yourself, pal? I'm not happy.
George takes 15% of Ivey's stack. A poet once wrote that they whistle to keep from being afraid. Phil Ivey may be doing the same thing.
The World Series of Poker. Main event.
Back inside the Rio, Marco Mattis, who was just crippled by Nick Maimone, is all in with pocket 5s. He was called by Joe Cata. We're going to the turn. Cata just flopped a set of 8s.
Diamond.
Don't put like the 3 of diamonds out there. That would be rude.
The 21-year-old trying to knock out the 22-year-old.
The turn card is a 7. Mattis picks up a gut shot.
Mattis now needs a 6, or he is wham-boozled.
The river card now is another 4. Mattis knocked out of the main event in 23rd place.
Marco Mattis' bid to become the first German to win the main event ended by Joe Cata.
His first World Series cash worth almost $353,000.
Time to get the ball rolling.
Cata with a small step back in the right direction, now with 3.7 million, still way below the chip average of 8.8. Billy Kopp hanging on to the chip lead right now with just over 25 million. To table 2 now, where action is on Antoine Saout, the 25-year-old pro player from France. He looks down at pocket aces.
Ooh la la.
Ooh la la indeed. In early position, he'll make a raise to 425,000. Kevin Schaffel fulls over to Billy Kopp, the chip leader, with a 4 and an 8.
Billy in his 6th year at college. He'll figure it out.
And he lays it down. Steve Begleiter now in the big blind. Begleiter with a king 10 offsuit.
Come on in, Beggs. Spread some private equity money around.
I'll call.
He does make the call for 265 more.
He protects his blind better than Bear Stearns ever protected its investors. I'm not bitter.
His king 10 was good enough to knock off Antonio Esfandiari. Let's see how it does against the aces. Wow, and there's another ace. Saout flops a set. Begleiter missed that flop. King 10 not looking so good. He checks.
Sit on it, Antoine. Beggs will fire out on the turn.
Antoine does sit on it. Turn card is another 8 that seals the deal. Saout with a check mark. Ace is full. And Begleiter is reaching.
I know my Wall Street types.
He bets 450,000.
I gotta tell you, I like aces full in this spot.
Call. Flat call. Saout salivating at Begleiter's intentions. River card is a jack. Saout already with a check mark, of course.
Let's see if Begleiter shuts it down.
Begleiter not shutting anything down. Comes out for a little more than $1 million.
That is a 1.15 million chip gift to his French neighbor.
Saout should pounce here. And he will raise it to $3.25 million.
Au revoir, Beggs.
How much do you have left, sir?
More than I did after Bear Stearns managed my 401k.
Beggs looking for an exit strategy.
You put half your chips in, huh?
Beg lighter, conceding slowly here to disguise the weakness of his hand.
And he finally lays it down. So a full house and a big bet will finally take that pot for Antoine Saout as the Frenchman works towards getting even for the day. Back to the outer table now, and once again we find former chip leader Darvin Moon, but Darvin a little quiet right now, watching on as another former chip leader, Warren Zachy, has put his tournament life on the line, all in with pocket deuces. Action on 21-year-old Ian Tavelli with a suited queen jack. Tavelli makes the call to put Zachy at risk.
Tavelli, the youngest player remaining, risking nearly half his stack with a suited queen jack, and now the last South African in a coin flip for his main event life.
So Tavelli trying to get lucky with his queen jack against Zachy's deuces. Ian's 85-year-old grandpa, John Downey, has been on the rail for Ian since he got knocked out on day 2. Here's the flop. It is 6-8 queen. Tavelli hits his queen to put Zachy on the ropes.
Now that card means Warren Zachy is all but done.
And he knows it. Turn card now is another 6, and Tavelli is one card from that 7 million chip pot.
Zachy needs a deuce and a deuce only, or his main event is over.
The river card is a tray, and that will do it. Ian Tavelli knocks out Warren Zachy in 22nd place.
Grandpa Moses is stoked.
And grandson Ian is up towards 13 million chips on day 8. One-time chip leader Warren Zachy leaves with the same thought as thousands before him, maybe next year. Time for Deal Me In, brought to you by FullTiltPoker.net. Anyone can bluff at the poker table, but it's how you sell it that counts. In last year's main event 2008 Player of the Year, Eric Lindgren had to figure out how to sell a bluff versus Michel Abacassis.
I raised it up with the 5-3 of hearts, and the guy that kind of been calling me a lot decided to call behind me. And it turns out he had a similar hand.
Flop is 8-6-4. Both have a straight draw.
Pretty good flop for me. I could make a straight. I decided to keep betting at it.
He's on a semi-bluff.
Show will come along.
His call on the flop showed me he had kind of a weakish hand and possibly a draw. The turn comes a queen, but I'm kind of scared he's going to call me down now. So I decided to check and see if I could hit my straight if he checks behind.
And he'll check it again.
Now the river comes a 10.
And he checks the river.
So the turn and the river probably didn't help his hand. So I had to take a shot. I made kind of what I thought was a believable bet of like 750, which is a little more than half the pot.
Eric sees an opening.
Luckily he folds, and I show the hand. I wanted to show it because I wanted to keep on loose reputation, and hopefully I'll get paid off later on in the day. Just tell a believable story and represent a hand that beats your opponents, and maybe they'll fold.
Let's get you up to date on some main event chip counts. Look at Billy Kopp still pulling away almost 10 million more than second place Darvin Moon. The 5 shortest stacks include Joe Cata, Tommy Vitas, and Jonathan Tamayo. The chip average now almost 9.3 million.
21 players left here in the Rio Poker Room. Only 9 of them will make it to November, and you can just sense most everyone tensing up a bit.
Action folds around to young Joe Cata. Ace-Queen offsuit. A raise to 400,000.
Ace-Queen's a loser, but he's only 21, so he doesn't know.
Folded over to the seasoned Jeff Schulman in the big blind, ace-7 off.
Schulman's got that Howard Hughes, I haven't been out of my hotel room for 3 months look to him.
And he takes a look at Cata and re-raises to 1.2 million.
Schulman, sensing Cata's got a so-so hand he doesn't want to get too committed to, turns it up a notch. The youngster trying to figure out the more seasoned and unshaven Schulman.
I'm on.
Cata shoves, and Schulman throws his hand away immediately.
The kid turns ace-queen into a pre-flop winner.
Cata over 6 million chips at 21 years, 8 months old. He's the second youngest player remaining. As we look at the tournament ticker, sponsored by FullTiltPoker.net, this is a pretty young main event. The average age 31 years old. Kevin Schaffel, the elder statesman, at 51. There's the youngest player in the field, Ian Tavelli. We just saw eliminate Warren Zachy. Right now he's watching Jonathan Tamayo with ace-queen. He's all in behind. Eric Buckman leads with pocket kings.
Buckman 29, Tamayo 23. It's a 20-something fest here late at the main event.
The flop is 10-10 queen. Tamayo paired his queen, but he still comes up short.
Tamayo needs a lot more help. He's still a 4-1 underdog right here.
Turn card is a tray. Buckman in great shape to knock out Tamayo.
One young poker pro trying to knock out the other. Jonathan Tamayo needs an ace or a queen to stick around.
The river card is a king, and that closes it out. Buckman wins it with a full boat. Jonathan Tamayo gone in 21st place.
The Texas Pro is out of here. The New York Pro is getting stronger.
Buckman one card from the rail on day 7, now with almost $15 million. Jonathan Tamayo with his 8th World Series cash, by far his biggest. Back to table 2, where the most active player has been Steve Begleiter. 20% of his winnings will go to members of his home game. Lucky them. He looks down at pocket 9s.
I'm going to raise.
Begleiter says he was a bad wrestler in high school. He wrestles pretty well on the poker table.
A raise to $425,000 on 24-year-old Ben Lamb. Ace King of Spades.
The last time Lamb wrestled with Begleiter, Ben had Ace King, and Beggs flopped a straight.
Ben Lamb's been a full-time player for 3.5 years. A two-handed re-raise to a little more than $1.1 million. So back to Begleiter.
I'll put you all in.
Comes back over the top.
I call.
Lamb makes the call to put himself at risk with Ace King. Ben Lamb supporters. He needs their help now.
They're off to the races with Ben Lamb's tournament life at risk. $11 million in the pot.
Begleiter trying to collect that big pot and knock off Ben Lamb. Here we go to the flop. And there's an ace for Lamb.
Score one for the common man. If Begleiter loses his hand, he can just take it out of petty cash.
He had a high point of 16 million chips today. This could bust him down to 8. Turn card is a king. Aces up for Lamb.
The people are fighting back. We're not going to let these big investors run all over us. Ben Lamb looking to dodge a 9.
River card is an 8. Lamb does win the hand and double up to 11 million.
The 24-year-old pro's got a little more breathing room now.
So Ben Lamb gets to keep his seat. He's now over the chip average, while Steve Begleiter, who was once 3rd in chips, now finds himself below the chip average. Oh, the fickle game of poker.
The World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Main event.
Just 20 players remain in this main event here at the Rio. The top 5 are paced by Billy Kopp's $25 million, $8 million more than his closest challenger. The smallest stacks include Phil Ivey now, who has lost more than half his stack on this day 8. The chip average is $9.7 million. To the outer table now, James Aikenhead in a hand with Eric Buckman. Buckman had raised pre-flop. Aikenhead made the call, and they will see a flop.
There's such a buzz out there. You can feel the tension. In the blink of an eye, you can go home.
The flop now is King 10 Queen, couple of diamonds. Buckman first to act, bets $525,000.
Aikenhead, short stacked for so long, must feel flush in chips now, but Buckman's got him covered, so he'll step lightly if he can.
He has doubled up a couple of times at this table, and he does make the call. Turn card now. It's a deuce of spades. Buckman again with chips. $725,000, less than a third of the pot.
Yeah, whatever Aikenhead has, I gotta believe he's priced in.
And he does make the call. Almost $4 million in this pot. The river card now. A 7 of hearts. Buckman will lead out again, it looks like. This time, $1.2 million. Again, a little less than 1/3 the pot.
Buckman's underbet the pot each time as if he's begging for a call. Aikenhead getting 4-1 on a call here.
And it is irresistible. He makes the call. Buckman turns over Jack 9. He flopped a straight and kept Aikenhead on the hook the whole way. Aikenhead mucks.
Well, this American gets the better of the Brit. Aikenhead ran into a monster there.
So a big pot push to Eric Buckman, who is now over 17.5 million chips. This 29-year-old has been flying somewhat under the radar in this main event, but make no mistake about it, he is a player to be reckoned with.
I've been doing this a long time now. I've had some moderate success. I have over $1 million in tournament earnings, but I don't like to play too much. You need to live a balanced life, you know. I feel like I enjoy poker more when I don't play all the time.
I can afford it, but
in general, I don't enjoy tournaments that much, but if you're gonna play one tournament a year, this is the one you want to play. And this is the one you want to win. You know, pot. I've been getting unlucky for so many times. There's been so many like big money spots where I had people dominated and lost.
There you go.
This event has been the opposite. This event, when I have the best hand, it holds up. When I'm focused and I'm really in tune with what's going on, you know, I can really play well. I feel like I'm supposed to be here. I feel like it's about time. I knew it was going to happen eventually. You might have not seen me before, but I'm here now.
When Eric got out of college, he hit a royal flush playing Caribbean stud poker at Foxwoods. He won a $222,000 jackpot, and that set him up with a good poker bankroll.
Back to the feature table where Phil Ivey has given up a lot more than he's taken in here on day 8, but at least he's eating well.
LegoPoker.com.
You should make a video for us.
Anything for you. Let me know
I'll get
when.
your number and we'll hook it up.
No, you don't call Phil directly, pal. You got to go through me.
Like, as long as I get to discuss poker strategy, can I do that?
You can discuss whatever you want. You can talk about that apple you're eating right now, if you're so pleased.
You know, frankly, I wouldn't mind seeing a little red meat in Phil's diet.
Action starts on George Karageorgis on the Jack Link's Beef Jerky Pocket Cam. Queen, Jack of Hearts.
Actually, they should have cast George in rounders. I like his look.
A raise to $420,000.
George raises from under the gun.
Nick Maimoni with Pocket Kings.
Boy, he should have been out of here by now, and Maimoni's become a force.
Just a call, though. Andrew Lichtenberger gets out of the way. Jordan Smith with a couple of red 4s.
How much are you playing?
Sorry with 2-6.
2-6?
2-7. Not exactly.
Cool.
Smith will make the call. Now Phil Ivey in the small blind.
I mean, a nice bone-in ribeye, medium rare, wouldn't kill Phil.
Shulman in the big blind, 10-9 offsuit.
Shulman is tempted. It's another $260 to him, and the pot is already $1.6 million.
But he'll lay that down. So George Karageorgis raised and got 2 callers. Maimoni's kings are best right now.
Eyewear required for this pot.
Here's the flop. It is King, Trade, Deuce. Maimoni with a set of kings. Karageorgis with a flush draw. Smith got no help.
I'm all in.
And on that draw, Karageorgis moves all in.
With only 15 big blinds.
Maimoni makes the call. Jordan now fakes all in and folds.
I'm the nuts.
The nuts for now, but one heart could change that.
The Canadian had been waiting for the right spot. That flop was inviting for him, but he ran smack into a set.
So the short stack Karageorgis had to go with something.
And the Nick Maimoni bandwagon gets louder and louder. George Karageorgis at risk.
All right, now the turn card is another king. That is the nuts. And quads will send Karageorgis to the rail in 20th place. Wow.
Nick Maimoni is charmed. Destiny's child. Phil can't believe what he's seeing.
George wins almost $353,000, and we're down to just 19 players. Maimoni approaching 12 million chips. He is running hot, hot, hot. Welcome back inside the Rio. It is Norman Chad's favorite time of the night, our Jack Link's Beef Jerky wild card hand.
If I get any better at this lawn, I might replace Doppler radar.
Action starts on Phil Ivey, and he has the wild card hand.
Phil and I are pretty much of one mind most of the time. This will be easy.
You better send him some big card vibes because he needs to get some chips in that stack. He raises to $425,000.
If he's raising under the gun, I'm going to put him on ace-10 suited. Of course, I'm hoping Phil is out of his funk.
Folded it over to Andrew Lichtenberger. As an online coach, every move he makes is scrutinized by his followers. Pocket nines.
The last time I went to Dairy Queen lawn, I believe Andrew served me my chocolate vanilla swirl in a cone.
He's on the button, and he makes the call for $425.
Well, right now he's going to respect Ivey's under the gun raise. A lot of the time there, Andrew might have repopped it. But you know, in the new world of poker, people are starting to steal under the gun. Ivey's certainly capable of that move, too.
The blinds folded. Here's the flop. It is 4, ace, 8. Phil Ivey first to act.
I can't read Phil's face, but I think the ace hit him.
You said ace-10, right?
Yes, sirree.
He bet $600,000, half the pot. Lichtenberger now with the nines. He sees that ace in the flop.
They're still pocket nines, Andrew. Right now, Andrew Lichtenberger is asking himself two questions. One, does Phil have an ace? Two, should I ask Cindy Stormer to the senior prom? I can't help him with Cindy, but I believe Phil has an ace.
He lays down the nines. Let's see what Ivy had. He had ace 10.
I said ace 10. Oh, my goodness. I'm becoming Rain Man-like.
Ivy will stack his winnings on the Jack Link's Beef Jerky wild card hand.
I could win the main event.
Ivy with that pot, but still $3.5 million below the chip average. Until Ivy wins that main event bracelet on November 10th, it would be his first no-limit Hold'em World Series bracelet. We'll keep it here at the feature table. Lichtenberger is one of the 4 remaining players who could be the youngest main event winner ever, breaking Peter Eastgate's record. He's got pocket 10s now.
Lichtenberger has said he wants to, quote, take an Ivy shot. If Andrew wins the main event, he'd like to play Ivy heads up online.
Lichtenberger raises the $400,000. Joe Cata, another one of the youngest, maybe to be King 10 of Hearts.
Cata is good friends with Dean Hamrick, who you may recall bubbled last year's November 9.
From the button, Cata makes the call.
A couple of 21-year-olds locking horns. Oh, I forgot about Phil in the big blind.
32-year-old Phil with 6 tray of spades.
Oh, sure, he'll play.
He needs $240,000 to call, and he does. So Lichtenberger, Cata, and Ivy will see the flop. The flop is ace-8, jack, 2 hearts. Lichtenberger with the best hand with the pocket 10s. Cata with flush and straight draws is the favorite. Ivy in it just for the TV time, I guess. Ivy checks.
Phil will blow these youngsters out of the hand.
Lichtenberger checks. Cata with his monster draws bets $500,000.
Cata with the semi-bluff there. Big, big draw. At the Phil Ivy Poker Academy, we will teach our students to fold our rags quicker.
He does lay it down.
Andrew now in a similar spot as he was against Ivy in the previous hand.
Yeah, he had 9s then, 10s here, and an ace flop both times. He folds. Cata will take the pot.
We've seen Lichtenberger make a couple of disciplined laydowns. I like that fold, and I like Cata's aggressive play on the flop.
Almost $6.5 million for Cata, still fighting the short stack. To the outer table, Eric Buckman in another pot, this time with Tommy Vitas. The flop, king, 6 tray, 2 spades.
This is a battle of the blinds. Buckman raised pre-flop, Vitas called.
Buckman checks. Vitas checks as well. Turn card now, 7 of hearts.
Buckman on the uptick today, Vitas on the slide.
Check from Buckman. Vitas has chips, $750,000.
Vitas grew up in Queens. Buckman lives in Long Island.
I'm all in.
Buckman comes over the top to put Vitas all in.
Tough spot. Don't know what he has, but if Tommy Vitas folds here, he's got less than 20 big blinds left. If Vitas calls here, his main event might be over.
A tough spot for Vitas. He does lay it down.
And Eric Buckman quietly becoming one of the bigger stacks in the room.
He has almost doubled his chips here on day 8. Nice timing for the New York pro. Keep an eye on that big stack. Let's go over to table 2. Chip leader Billy Kopp has been very quiet as of late. No real reason to get out of line with that big chip stack, but the same cannot be said of Steve Begleiter, who has been having a lot of ups and downs today. Begleiter looks down at jack 9 of diamonds. A raise to $425,000.
Begleiter aggressive from the hijack position, 2 to the right of the button.
Ben Lamb with pocket aces.
1.1.
And a re-raise to $1.1 million.
Boy, Beggs and Ben have become dance partners, and I don't think Beggs' legs are tired yet.
Cool.
With the suited jack, he makes the call.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how many chips you have.
About 5.
A bit more than that. You're like 7.
It's like subprime mortgages. You got to read the fine print. Good for Ben Lamb.
Now the flop is 5. Jack 9. Begleiter hits jacks up to take the lead.
Oh, geez, this is like real life. You can't beat the big banks. I'm rooting for common man Ben Lamb, and look at that flop.
Begleiter slow plays his top 2. Lamb with the pocket aces. Makes it $1.2 million.
Lamb likes that flop. He shouldn't.
I'm all in.
Begleiter shoves.
I call.
And gets a taker in Ben Lamb.
Yes! Come on. Hold up!
Begleiter played it splendidly on the flop, and now he's a 3-to-1 favorite to crack the aces and double up.
Yeah, a costly turn of events for Lamb if he doesn't get help.
Ace. Running deuces.
Turn card. Tray of diamonds, no help to Lamb. Beglider picks up a flush draw.
Yeah, Lamb's ace is getting weaker with every street.
Beglider pacing nervously.
Lamb now will need a 3, 5, or ace to take down Steve Beglider.
It's an 8 of hearts. Beglider wins that monster pot.
Sorry, Ben, I was with you.
He's busted down to $4.5 million. And that's good news for Team Beglider. Steve Beglider up to almost $17 million, proving the old adage, any two cards can win. 19 players left in the Rio Poker Room for the main event. We can only take 9 to the final table. Billy Kopp and Darvin Moon anchored at the top. The others trying to find their way into the top 9, including Phil Ivey with just under $6 million right now. The chip average almost $10.3 million.
Phil Ivey trying to overcome his usual late main event woes and make the final table for the first time.
4 deuce won't do it. On Jeff Schulman now with an ace-7 of diamonds.
Schulman has avoided big pots and let other people make mistakes, and here he is.
A raise to $450,000 on Joe Cata. Pocket queens.
Cata studied business, accounting, and statistics in his 3 semesters of college.
From the big blind, a re-raise to $1.2 million.
The last time Schulman had ace-7, Cata re-raised all in, and Jeff folded.
Jeff will call this time with a suited ace and go heads up against Joe Cata.
Well, this time it's not an all-in re-raise from Cata, and this time Schulman's got position, so he likes the situation better.
All right, the flop. King 5 deuce. Cata and his pocket queens are still ahead.
Check.
He checks. Schulman now will not check, it appears.
Maybe Schulman is going to play a big pot this time.
He's going to represent that king. $1.4 million.
Cata in a similar position that we saw Andrew Lichtenberger in earlier a couple of times. Does Cata believe Schulman has a king?
Cata started this hand with just over 6 million chips, and he'll put 1.4 million more in the pot.
They're 21, Lon, and they read better than a librarian.
Turn card now is another 5.
Check.
Cata checks.
Cata will play it safe here, control the pot. Doesn't want to commit too much unless he should.
Check.
Jeff checks behind him. River card is another king. Cata earns the check mark with his pocket queens.
Jeff left with just ace high.
Joe Cata perhaps doesn't figure. Jeff Schulman for the king bets $2 million.
How much?
$2 million.
Schulman not ready to lay it down. You know, it's possible Cata had a hand like ace-jack of clubs or some other suited ace and missed his club draw, so Schulman's ace would be chopping this pot with Cata's ace.
Heat turned back on the seasoned veteran and lays it down to young Joe Cata.
Another good laydown by Schulman. He's been playing very well this main event.
And Cata can breathe again. He made a risky read, and it was right.
Cata showing us some poker chops.
Nice hand.
Thank you.
Flush draw?
You don't have to answer that, son. They want information, they got to pay the going rate.
Schulman takes a hit. Cata with $9.2 million now. Let's get right back to the outer table because short stack Tommy Vitas has moved all in pre-flop with pocket trays. Action is on his nemesis Eric Buckman holding pocket 7s, wondering if he can get the rest of Tommy's chips.
Buckman now sitting on a big stack. He needs just 10% of his chips to call.
Big call.
And he does just that. Trays for Vitas, 7s for Buckman.
Tommy Vitas sees the bad news. The 37-year-old simply has got nothing going all day long.
So Vitas at risk. Buckman looking to get stronger. Here's the flop. 10, tray 7. Oh my, both hit a set, which keeps Buckman way ahead.
And that flop virtually slams the door on Tommy Vitas' main event.
What are you going to do? That's poker.
What a blow to Tommy Vitas. Turn card is a queen, no help.
Tommy Vitas looking now for just one card in the deck to save him.
Don't give up yet.
He needs the last 3 or he is gone.
The river card is a deuce. Set over set knocks out Tommy Vitas in 19th place.
Great run for the Las Vegas Pro. Meanwhile, Eric Buckman is having a dream-like day.
Indeed, so far day 8, Eric Buckman has doubled his stack. He sits with almost $21 million in second place of the main event. Meanwhile, Tommy Vitas can only look back and accept congratulations as his main event run has come to the end of the road. We are down to 2 tables, 18 men, but only 9 can return in November.
Who's going to win this one?
Can Billy Kopp, Eric Buckman, Darvin Moon, and Steve Begleiter use their chips to their advantage? Can Joe Catta be the latest to make main event history?
Time to get the ball rolling.
Will Nick Maimoni's good streak continue? Can Jeff Schulman make it to his second main event final table? And will Phil Ivey finally get there for the first time?
I always have it.
Next week, we get down to the final table. Until then, for Norman Chad, I'm Lon McCarran. Thanks for watching the World Series of Poker.